again. We're going to look at the exciting topic of questionnaires today. I just want you to know that aside from this fairly grim top, I've got matching trousers. Look. Stop pointing that out. Okay, I hope you're all right. I hope self-isolation's going all right for all of you. I am literally crawling the walls. A little bit of tension, I'm not going to lie. Anyway, today we're going to talk about questionnaires, and I just found the page in the book that I wanted you to look at. I'm fairly sure it's page 164, but my book just shut. Yes, to back this up, folks, if you could read, it starts at the bottom of page 164 and goes on until 167, yes, down to where it says positivism and interpretivism. Oh, actually, that's a lie. All of 167 down to 168. 164 to 168. Brilliant. Right. So take notes on that, please, either additionally or fill in the booklet using them. So today I'm looking at pages 24 to 26 in the booklet, the strengths and weaknesses of questionnaires. So let's just establish, first of all, what a questionnaire is, and I'm sure you're all fairly well clued up on this. So a questionnaire is a set list of questions that you hand out to your sample, whoever that might be, and they fill it in probably on their own. You might have them kind of captive in a room, or you might ask them to send it back in a postal format or perhaps on email. And there are different pros and cons of all of those methods. Okay, so I just want to say I've got a cold, not anything worse, so sorry I'm sniffing. So let's have a look then. What might be the use of questionnaires and who might use them? And just to introduce the concepts of positivism and interpretivism straight away, I know we've talked about them and they're also in the reading I've asked you to do. Questionnaires tend to be favoured by positivists, and you'll probably know why. But remember, positivist techniques are used by structural theorists. They're trying to look at the big picture. They're almost floating above society, looking at how the structures affect us at the bottom. I've got an interloper. Hello. He's going. Can you shut the door? Thanks, baby. I'm so easily distracted, as you know. So they're looking at the structures and how they affect us as individuals at the bottom. So they're wanting to look at the big picture, very much a macro picture of society. And so a form of research like questionnaires is going to allow them to access quite a large sample, potentially, a more representative sample. And therefore, they're going to be able to get the big picture. And even better, if they've taken down people's perhaps class, age, gender, ethnicity, or any of the socio-economic factors at the start, they can start to, of course, form trends and patterns, correlations between different groups. Okay. Oh my God, this is so unflattering. Right. Flipping it. I haven't had to confront myself. Look, that's stripy too. I haven't had to confront myself on camera before this whole adventure started. Right. Strengths of questionnaires. So I'm going to follow through the booklet and then you can add bits in from the textbook. So because a questionnaire is potentially quite easy to construct, obviously it's very important, the quality of the questions, but it also means once you've constructed it, that it's quite easy to fire out to a lot of people because they do the bulk of the work. They're filling it in. They're almost doing the time-consuming stuff. So it is a method that allows you to access quite a large sample. And as we know, if you access a large sample, there's a good chance that it might be more representative of the target population, and therefore you'll be able to generalise your data to that target population more accurately. Okay, so there's one pro. It's quick and easy, and of course that's good for sociologists as well, who are typically working on quite low budgets. The other thing is that they're quite easy to code and interpret. The vast majority of questionnaires have tick boxes. So it's going to be a yes or a no that you tick, or I agree through to I strongly disagree, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you agree with this statement? However it's done, it tends to be a tick box answer. And that's going to make interpreting it quite easy, because you're going to get numerical data, quantitative data that we know positivists like, and they will be able to spot quite quickly trends and patterns within that. Also, in this age of very sophisticated computer programs, possibly that can all be done for them. Okay. I've also put that a questionnaire is easy to standardise and replicate accurately. And I hope as you see those two words, standardised and replicate, you are instantly thinking that questionnaires are therefore high in reliability. I know you all said it with me. Now, this is excellent because it means you can then keep handing them out to other groups to extend the sample size apart from anything. But also, you'll be able to test, for example, people in the north against people in the south and compare and contrast the answers. So if it's standardised and easy to replicate, you can send out a lot of them and compare groups, spot trends and patterns. Questionnaires can also be used to explore potentially embarrassing ideas more than other methods. Now, questionnaires aren't necessarily a method that I'd instantly argue are high in validity, but actually the fact that people are likely to be more honest when answering them does increase the validity of them. So for example, if someone was sitting opposite, I think every year don't students, certain schools age 15 and 16 get sent lifestyle questionnaires, and it might ask really potentially embarrassing questions about sex, about drugs. Now, if a teacher was sitting in front of a student and asking them, I would guess that most people wouldn't necessarily be that honest. But if you're being asked to do it privately and anonymously, and that's another crucial aspect of questionnaires, they must be anonymous, then people are likely to be more honest because they're not going to be caught out. It's not going to be referenced back to them. Okay, so there's some really useful I'm really struggling today. Strengths of questionnaires. There are more in the book that you can add in. Then we'll look at some of the weaknesses. And again, I'm going to run through the ones in your booklet just so you can fill it in, but please do add to it from the textbook. So the format of the questionnaire design makes it difficult for the researcher to examine complex issues and opinions. And this means it's going to lack validity, depth potentially, and also empathy, the stay-in. If you are, let's take the example of cannabis use, and you ask in a questionnaire, should cannabis be legalised? And you'd simply put yes or no as the answers. You can certainly get a snapshot of the attitudes of young people or old people towards cannabis in this country or wherever. But what you wouldn't find out is, why do they feel like that? What personal experiences have they had? What's making them answer in that way? In order to get depth, validity, you'd want to ideally be able to perhaps interview some of them later on. And actually, can I just flick back to one more advantage I should have put there? And that is that questionnaires are a particularly useful form of formative assessment. So you might want to write that down as an extra advantage. Apologies for being all over the place. And that they're excellent for formative assessment. This means that if you were looking at why cannabis should be legalised, perhaps in this country, and you wanted to pick people that were particularly interested in this issue, by simply asking them on a questionnaire, should cannabis be legalised, yes or no? How strongly do you feel about this from 1 to 10? You'd certainly be able to pick off people that you might want to do a more valid form of research with, such as unstructured interviews. So they're really useful for that. But of course, the questionnaire itself lacks that validity, lacks that depth. And I've put lower down here, I think it's the next one, that even if you do a semi-structured questionnaire and you put, should drugs be legalised, yes or no? Or should cannabis be legalised, yes or no? And then underneath that, put please explain your answer. That people are kind of reluctant to add that much detail. They might not have time, they might not be bothered, they might not be interested enough. So actually, even if you do a semi-structured questionnaire, you're unlikely to get that much validity, is the truth. So, difficult to get validity and Verstehen. And remember, Verstehen is a deeper understanding, seeing the world from the perspective of the sample that you're researching. And you're not going to get that from yes and no answers. Okay. I've put here with the postal questionnaire particularly, so if you've sent out questionnaires to people and you're asking them to return them, couple of problems with that. Firstly, you don't know who's filled it in. I mean, you know, a 10-year-old might have found it hilarious to fill in a questionnaire on something very adult in content, and you'd never know from the ticks who'd really filled it in. So it's difficult to know if it's an authentic person answering it. Secondly, the response rate for postal questionnaires tends to be about 25% tops, for a variety of reasons. People don't see the point in doing it. They don't want to commit themselves to paper. They can't be bothered. They're not interested in that topic. It seems meaningless to them. Actually, that's a way that, in a sense, using social media might be quite a useful way to overcome that problem, because you might be able to really aim your questionnaires at a group that would be interested in a particular issue. The other thing you could do, of course, is offer an incentive. I mean, if you had the money as a researcher to offer a car for the person, the questionnaire that was pulled out of the hat, that can be an added incentive for people to bother filling them in. But trust me, the average sociologist is not going to be able to offer much more than a bottle of cheap plonk, I imagine. Okay. With the researcher not present, it's hard to tell if the respondent has really understood the question, and that might reduce the validity in the sense that they're not answering honestly. They don't really know what they're answering. So if I said to someone in a questionnaire, do you think conjugal roles are equally mixed between men and women these days? Now, I'm asking you as sociologists, and some of you might be thinking, what the blimmin' heck is a conjugal role? I really hope not. But you might be. If you asked about conjugal roles to an average person in the street, I don't guess that would be a word they use that often, understandably. And so people might just kind of guess the answer. And that's not useful for accuracy or truth in a questionnaire. If you were doing a structured interview, which is the same bit of paper, but you're holding on to it, you're asking the person, you could at least explain terms they don't understand. That's actually pretty much all I wanted to say on this. On page 27, there is a questionnaire that I genuinely did get handed when coursework was still a thing. And I'd like you to have a go at picking out perhaps some of the problems with that, and then we can discuss them. So do fill in page 27. But most importantly, please, folks, can you fill in the pros and cons of questionnaires using the textbook and my hugely informative video in my matching outfit. Yeah. I hope you're enjoying self-isolation. I can't wait to see you all again. I really can't. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.